I'd like to know how you came to the Myers Touch in the first place. What made us a kitchen company that you wanted to have your kitchen designed and installed by?
We very happily came upon you at the Grand Designs, where Martin made an appointment to see Keith, because at the time we were in the middle of a major extension refurbishment, and we were at desperation point trying to find a kitchen company who could help guide us through the almost infinite choice available for a kitchen company to design us a special space.
It was sort of chance. I was looking through, we'd decided to go to Grand Design. Someone said you should go and have a look at Grand Designs because there's all sorts of ideas there. So I was, we'd got the tickets and I was looking at the website and found that there were experts from different fields on different days who were available. And happily I read your brief and thought, it was between you and a gardener. I was choosing between whether to see you in my free slot or a gardener. And we came to see you. We had the 25-minute chat with you, and you sketched out a few ideas. Then we came. We were keen at that point, but then we came when we then came to your presentation that you did. And after the presentation, then we were pretty certain that we wanted to come and have at least a decent session with you down in the studio and see where to go, because we liked your approach. It was novel. No one else had come to us with a novel approach of how to design a kitchen, and particularly talking about looking at your lifestyle rather than just looking at the space and saying, well, you've got a corner there, so we're going to pop this in there and that in there. So that's what drew us in.
A very innovative approach to design. We took with us our plans, and you were the only person who looked at the flow. We had a real problem where we hadn't actually had this room built at that stage, but you had the vision from the plans in 2 dimensions to make the best use of the light and the space. Nobody had done that. We'd been to 6 or 7 conventional companies, and all they ever wanted to know was what sort of cookie you wanted and where you wanted it. And you wanted to know how we lived our life, what we wanted out of the space, not only now, but in the future. And it was novel. It was completely, I was blown away immediately. I knew we were onto the right thing, definitely. It took a long time to get to fruition, but that was because
the nature of project.
Yes.
How long was it before that meeting at Grand Designs and then the actual, I suppose, going to ground and then finally getting into your kitchen? How long was that?
Gosh, when was Grand Designs? Because when Keith came to our house as well, so I mean that was so important for us that you came and saw A, what we had and how we used it, and B, what we wanted from it. And so you knew what was here, whereas no one else, we'd ever taken the plans and they'd just drawn it, but you came here and saw it. And that,
you saw it before this room even
it didn't
existed. I think it was March. I think we came to Grand Designs it was up at Excel. I think it was March.
Yeah, and so it would have been a year later in April.
And the install date was the week we were intending to go skiing last year in March. Yeah. And then I decided I couldn't go away while the kitchen was going in, so we didn't go. And stayed here. So literally, it was probably a year from the day we first came and met you. It was probably pretty much a year to install date.
But remember, we did the whole house, so we weren't just focused on this room. So that yours was just one of the things. Well, we wanted this backspace to be the real wow factor, the real showstopper. And no one else had given us that. And it was a worry, because we knew we'd spent a lot of money on making a building like this, and we didn't want it just to be ordinary, we wanted it to be special. And when you showed us your design, the other thing I find it very difficult is to imagine things in 3D. But of course, you've got all your computers, and all of a sudden it pops up like virtual reality. And then if we weren't sure, I know you moved this island and put it over there, and you showed us what the kitchen would have looked like over there, and so we knew what it would look like before we decided, and that's huge. That's huge for someone who isn't very visual. I know what I like when I see it, but I find it difficult to imagine. And then we had lots of chance to look at all the different designs, and that made a real big difference.
So it was rather stretching your. Do you feel that you were stretched in where we took you?
What, in our imagination or our budget?
Either.
Both. No, you get what you pay for in life. It was more than you'd intended to spend, but we had lived in this house for nearly 30 years and had made the decision that we were going to spend, we hope, another 30 years, and we were looking for a quality product that was contemporary, modern, but that was timeless. And I think that's what you gave us. You took away just the angst of deciding that we live in a world where we have too much choice, without a doubt. And your advice on colours, and that's where Helena came in as well. We would bring floor colours down to you. Helena helped us with soft furnishings, colour advice and things, and that kind of helped pull the whole thing together. So it was putting us in the right direction for something that we wanted to last a long time, and so we knew that it was worth paying for. We're not going to need to have another new kitchen in 15 years. It's a quality product. It's everything, superbly fitted.
It's amazing it's been in a year, isn't it? Really,
Well, I can't,
Yeah.
I know,
It looks like
absolutely.
it was done yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think if coming back to whether you pushed us, I think things like, I don't think we naturally would have gone for an island this size, but you rightly said that we've got a lot of space here. You've got a big room, and something needs to dominate the room and dominate the space. And again, it's like Penn said, we're both going the same way. I built cardboard cutouts of this size, and we laid them down and shifted them around a little bit just to get a feel to see what it was going to be like to walk around it. But for us, we could see it on the screen, but even seeing it on the screen, until you could actually see that size, because it seemed huge when you looked at the measurements of it, and until you actually could lay that on the floor and mark it out in tape or whatever and decide what was what.
We call it the continent. We don't call it the island, we call it the continent. And as well, the inspiration it was an inspired idea that you had to give us the two tones of quartz, sassy. And how it works is that the lighter bit is sort of my area when I'm cooking, when we're entertaining. And the darker area is where the guests can go.
That's fine, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's part of the video.
All right, Sassy. So yeah, in our previous kitchen, people were always in my way. They were in front of the oven, they were walking through everything. So although you asked us originally about our lifestyle, it's also a really well-designed kitchen ergonomically in terms of where everything is. The fridge on the end, so that if, for example, the kids are home, they can come to the fridge and take stuff out without getting in my way here. These are in a really safe position, so nobody gets in the way walking past hot ovens and things, whereas I would be taking something out of the oven and turning around if I was entertaining. People were literally in the equivalent of this area. There was nowhere else for them to go. So the flow has changed incredibly. And we do use it a lot for entertaining. We could never get people to come into what was our separate back room or go into our sitting room. Now they come in, they can get a drink from the bar, they come and sit on the bar stools. Whoever is cooking and entertaining, we work as a team. You're completely involved with all your guests all the time. So it works perfectly.
Because that was part of the process, wasn't it, to try and bring people into the room and draw them through so they don't hang around the entrance, which I think was one of the problems of the last
Yes.
Hugely
blocking up the
difficult.
space and tripping over each other all the time and trying to draw them into the whole space.
Yes.
Was this kind of staging process that which is why when we tried the kitchen in our location, it wasn't drawing them through as well.
No.
But sometimes you have to go down a route to decide it's not right, to make sure that something else is right, and that's an important part of the design exploration, really.
Yes.
To do that.
That one for us now was particularly, which it worked in with it now, but now in come the summer we'll be able to have, if people are coming, you can have just a complete through way. We can have the bifolds open, and you'll be able to see from the front door straight through and straight out into the garden without anything blocking it, which will be nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Have you got a favourite part of this kitchen? Any favourite elements of it?
Well, I love the island. So
Continent.
the continent. You're right. I do. I love the continent. I love the fact that people can sit up and chat while I'm cooking. And I love the visual of it. I love the texture of it. One of the most spoken about things when people have visited is the way that we have the two-tone, and also the very innovative extractor fan, which completely clears that awful look of something hanging down from the ceiling. Clearly, we couldn't put an extractor fan hanging off the ceiling because it sits under the skylight. But that is a big topic of conversation, and of course then sucks the air out underneath. People, are very impressed by it. We have had a lot of positive feedback. There isn't anybody who's come in and hasn't said, wow, really, it's, yeah. What's your favourite bit? The telly.
Telly and the wine fridge, of course.
Of course, the wine fridge.
Yeah. No, I just like the way it works in the whole area. We don't literally, when just Penny and I are at home, we don't live in any other room of the house basically, apart from sleep somewhere to sleep. It serves its function beautifully, and as you see, we've been back in the house a year, and we haven't got a sofa in the lounge yet. Because
These are the existing ones.
these were from the lounge, and we decided that because we thought we'd put a fixed one in
Do my
there, but it's
yoga
actually
in there.
easier to have ones you can move around and shift around a bit. And so we hardly use the lounge. We haven't lit the log burner in there at all this winter.
Wow.
This is a lovely room to be in. It's light, it's spacious, and it draws you into it. You want to be here. We've got the lights on today, but we hardly ever need to use the lights. And previously, because it's a very long, narrow house,
Yeah.
we always had to have the lights on.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
that
we are.
with the new skylight and the light colours and the big windows, it's a pleasure to be in here. Feel very lucky, privileged. So glad we found you. Honestly.
We've got a tagline we use a lot, which is creating kitchens with light, space and laughter.
Okay.
You've mentioned that this place is a light space, and
Yeah.
that's actually really obvious from the
Yeah.
patio doors. But what about the laughter element? Does that come into your kitchen at all?
Oh yes, because we use it so much for entertaining.
Yeah.
So we've been in a year, we've had just so many dinners, parties, family events. We very much wanted it to be the hub of our families. So yes, we do lots and lots of entertaining here. And we're very happy here as well on our own. So
Yeah.
we laugh here on our own as well, but we love having people around.
It is great because we can seat so many people round this edge that whoever's cooking is fully involved in whatever's going on, and if other people are around, they're normally sitting around having a chat there, or even if they're watching the telly there, you can still be having a chat to them when you're doing the cooking and involved with what's going on. That's the whole thing. It just enables everyone who's in the room to be involved in whatever's happening. So plenty of laughter.
And there's plenty of space. Remember, we were living in a caravan for 9 months before we got back in here. When we first came in, it was so huge we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We were literally lost because the whole, just this, we were living in a space about, half the size of this for 9 months. And we came in here and it's just so much space and so much light. But we soon settled in, didn't we?
Yeah.
After about 2 weeks. And now it just feels completely normal.
Did you have any worries before the installation, between the time that you thought, yes, we'll go with the Myers touch, and the time your actual kitchen arrived? Did you have any things that you thought, I'm not sure if, or you're worried about perhaps storage or how the quality would be? Any worries you had?
No, I think the only bits we juggled about and had concerns over was when we were trying to line up, make sure that the skylight and the sort of I forget what they called it now, the sloping bits coming down from the skylight, making sure we get that to work so that it would run onto a join on the cupboards. And the electricians had concerns because there's so many steels around here that I was saying I wanted the lights just to come down on the joins, and they said, well, there's a huge girder in this bit and we can't, we'll have to drill the holes for everything before the kitchen comes. So talking to Pete and Dan and trying to get the exact measurements of where things would be, because we had to pre-drill and install the lights before it came. And obviously if they were in the wrong position, then that would really have changed things around. And I think
Do you like your new house? You do?
He said, I've not been interviewed.
yeah. No, maybe I think as well, just from my point of view, you see the graphics and the computer modelling of the mirrors, but quite knowing what that's going to look like in such a big area. But
I think the mirrors is a good point, because I mentioned earlier when we were having a chat about that there's no sparkle in the kitchen, and I loved mirrors, but at the time I thought I'm not very blingy, I'm not a blingy person, and the mirrors are a nod to bling for us, and I think they quite surprised people as well that we'd got them. It was a bit, the Bedfords have got like mirrors in their kitchen. So that was great advice. That was something we never would have put in. So we knew we wanted quite neutral with some wood, but we never would have thought to do something like that, and we love it, and it works really well. It just bounces even more light around.
Is that the benefit to you? Is that it's not blingy, or it's a little bit blingy.
It's
and
just a
like
little
that,
bit different. Yes, it is. It is a little bit kind of, yeah. You know, I'm not a kind of chandelier person or anything like that, but I know I like that, and the light on the
It does.
bar.
It adds something a little bit special, I think, with that, and you know the lights on the mirrored one over there, which you've put on in a while, but the whole thing, it just creates a nice atmosphere, and it means even at night it still looks very spacious, because people get a bit fooled by the mirrors until don't realise they're seeing reflection. They think they're looking through into something else, but it all adds to the fact that for us makes it a special room, and
yeah.
and the fact that you advised on the grey smoke, or is it smoke grey? I think it's smoke grey.
Yeah,
It's as well. I think it wouldn't be the same if they were just straight mirrors. I don't think I'd like that if it was just a straight mirror. It adds to it an awful lot more. It gives it, I don't know, a bit more of a sense of style or something. I think having the coloured.
You mentioned this draws people to it, and one of the aspects that we have in our philosophy is about the community aspect, about a place that intuitively draws people to it, and when your friends come, or that it reaches out into the community a bit and draws people into that space. Was that something you wanted, or was it a surprised outcome for you?
I think it was something that we wanted, a space where we could entertain a lot of people comfortably.
But with the difference, I think before, was we had a kitchen in sort of more this area, and had a bullnose which came very close to that door, and people came in and they wanted to sit at the bullnose, but then that blocked anybody else coming in. And
To be fair, there were only 2 seats there.
Yeah.
So we have another one of these upstairs, so we bring that down when we entertain, so we can sit 6 people around there, and then we take these over there and put them around the table, and then you've got 20 people sitting around a table, because there's no. Did you mean sense of community in terms of people who we already know, or are you meaning like the wider community?
Yeah, well, both really, actually.
Okay.
In the sense of, when you create a space like this, it naturally, I think, instinctively draws people to it. And it makes you feel more open to have people. And although you'd naturally reach out to your friends, it's whether you go any further than that.
Right.
at the moment, it's only been friends and family that do that. We haven't used it for anything other than that. No, but we certainly. As I say, when people come in, it certainly draws them to this area of this room. This is where naturally people will congregate if we've got people around for dinner or whatever, or for an evening. But no, we haven't sort of reached out to anything else in Bookham to use that.
When the people come in, do you feel that the environment has improved the way that those events take place?
Hugely.
In what ways is it?
Just because of the flow of the space and that people have, they can easily move around, talk to different people, whereas previously people were more disparate and separate. So if I did manage to get people out of the way of the kitchen, some people would be in this back room, other people would be in the lounge, then some people would be in the dining area where there was virtually no room to even get past the table. So people were sort of stuck. People were sort of stuck in their place. And I think that when you're having a big gathering, 20 or more, people want to move around and be able to talk to lots of different people. This enables that. And anyone can go where they want, when they want. And once you open the door, well, sky's the limit. You could... so yes, it's hugely different, and people seem to know where to go because we set up all the drinks and the trug with the champagne and all the rest of it on the bar, so they can come in, deposit their coats in the study, get a drink, nibbles and stuff all down here, and Martin helping at the bar, me getting some stuff ready here, and it just happens.
Naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some people, we go to parties and they need staff so that they can talk to their guests. You've got someone who opens the door, or we leave the door on the latch, or put a sign, we're in the garden, if it's in the garden. People, we don't need that because we're involved. So it's changed it completely. It really has. It's so much easier, definitely.
Did you always have a utility in that place, or was the utility somewhere different?
No, the utility was there, but it's very different now because we have a utility room through that door, and then we extended on the side as well and built another garage. So we now have a boot room as well, which is where we bring the dog in and wash the dog and look after her. And then we have the utility room. It's fantastic there because all the food prep that I do, we have an extra fridge out there, all gets set out there so that when people actually arrive, the decks are pretty clear and all the stuff's out there.
Ready to be.
Yeah, and then things like Christmas dinners and stuff like that, we put some of the kids out there with the dirty pans and all the roasting tins, and someone's washing up in that sink and someone's doing here, and everybody, it encourages everybody, them having come to help. And again, even a dinner party, people think, oh well, I'll just take my stuff across, and they bring it over, and I allow them in my zone then. We just open the dishwasher because it's on the end, and they can just go past this. So yeah, it encourages people to be part of the event rather than just a guest and get up and leave. So yeah, it's made all the difference. It really has.
That's a really lovely statement, actually, isn't it? That whole kind of to be part of the event, rather to be a guest.
Yeah.
Because that is entertaining your friends and family in that sense, isn't it? You know, where friends step over that line and become kind of your immediate family, I suppose, in that sense.
Yes. And we're not formal entertainers in that I would ever say to somebody, come to dinner, really. I tend to always say it's kind of supper. And normally, once we've cooked what we're doing, we have a lot of surface protectors, and we put all the dishes down here, and then people can help themselves. And I'm a great proponent of that, because then people take what they like and they can come back for more, rather than serving people huge quantities of food on their plate and putting it down in front of them. And this lends itself very well for that. So it tends to be more like informal supper rather than a dinner where everything is really kind of quite rigid. It's really informal.
I can see that.
So one of the things that you talked about in your thing about Grand Designs was that you've been to a number of kitchen companies beforehand. Now, so the Myers Touch charge a design fee. It'd be interesting to know how you felt about that originally, and then whether you felt that was worth the investment that we're fundamentally asking you to make. And what will you say to somebody who was reluctant to pay a design fee to work with us?
Well, I would say, and being the one who was more involved with the purse strings, as it were, on the whole project. No, I did buy in after sort of that 25 minutes with you, and then your talk where you explained the process that you would go through. Then when we chatted to you after that, and you said there, well, yes, there's an initial design fee, but for that design fee, I will come and visit you at your home. It won't just be looking at your drawn-out plans. I'm interested to see the space and talk about how you're going to use the space. And I think, no one else had proposed a design fee to us, but no one else had done anything other than what the architect had proposed on his part as to where the kitchen should be and what would be involved in it. So I think, a design fee is a different concept for people to get a handle on, but once you start to talk to you some more and see what you're actually going to get for that, and when you talk to us about the fact that there's the design, and if you go ahead, then there's a bit of help with colours and interior design and everything as well, all comes as part of the package, and it became more comfortable with the idea. And we weren't, well, as you know, and you'll remember, we certainly weren't sold at that stage, but I was happy to make that investment. In the same way we talked to people about the garden, and some people for the garden and said, right, well, no, if we're going to do that, then it's going to be X to come and spend a couple of hours with you and talk to you and come back with a presentation. But there's a charge for doing that.
And that's standard in the garden design industry. People expect to pay that. So in a way, if you pay, I was mentioning we went to many companies who didn't provide anything particularly special, but you get what you pay for. So once you invest a little bit into the people who are going to help you, maybe they give you more back. It was definitely worth it.
I think it's an understanding of the amount that that you're going to invest into there. Both of us used to be in the travel business, and sometimes you would spend 3, 4, 5 hours with someone running over everything and all the possibilities, planning a big round the world, and then they'd go away, and then they'd phone you and say, "Oh, I got it £20 cheaper down the road." And say, "Oh, yeah, but you've taken all of my time and all of my ideas, and so there's, well, can't you meet that price?" And say, "Well, no, I've given you the best price I can give you." But it's so but again, in the travel business, no one in the travel business charges a consultancy fee to help you plan your holiday. They're relying on the commission from getting the booking. So no, I don't think, because we had started at that stage, I think, to understand, because of the different approach you took, then you were going to put a lot more, naturally going to be putting a lot more time into it to come up with the initial designs. And the fact that you said, well, I'll give you a design, but we can, we're happy to rejig that. It's not just one design for this. You come and you can have consultations down in the studio.
We came several times, and again, you did offer us the choice when perhaps the price point was too high, that we had an alternative rather than the quartz going around the sink, and then you quoted with the television part not being in it, so that we could get some idea, and if we wanted to adjust that. So there was a lot of flexibility, and you advised us, and you challenged us on certain things as well, because unless someone says, well, what about this, or had you thought about this? It's like, well, no, I'm not a designer. I know nothing about that. I'm not artistic, I'm not a design person. So it's really great to have somebody challenging our ideas as well, and then also giving us alternatives if certain things didn't work. And we got, we reached a happy place. We're full of laughter. We did. And the other thing was the great communication between your whole team. You're all friendly, all professional, all the guys who came to do the fitting, and they worked well with our builders. There were times here when we had Pete up one side of a ladder and our builder Paul up the other, and they were literally up here face to face, and there was a difficulty that they had to sort out with where this was
going.
Find
a point of agreement.
And it was right in front of, and they got there every inch of the way. So they advised us, and they told us, everyone explained what was going to happen when the fitting came, and they worked to a really high standard. The guys who did all the surfaces as well. Everybody melds together very well as a team. Very high standard, huge attention to detail. Attention to detail is, and high quality products. I mean, if you're going to go to this whole expense of having this done, put a product in that's going to last, and you back up your design service with really high quality products, but still a range of choice, because in the utility room you offered us a slightly lower quality product for a slightly lower price, because it's not used a fraction of the time that this is, and yet it still blends in and melds, and we walk through and people still go, wow, and they say, my kitchen doesn't look as nice as this, and then you feel vaguely embarrassed. But yeah, so there was plenty of time for negotiation and change. It wasn't, this is the design for you. It was, a collaboration. Great word. Yeah, it was a happy collaboration. Yeah.
So going back to the design fee, now you've been through the process. You feel happy to have paid it?
Yes, I think we had a special offer on it, didn't we?
Did you get the grand design?
We had the grand.
At grand design, you get a grand off.
a grand off. Yeah, a grand.
I can't tell you the amount of angst and stress it took off me, because I felt, particularly as the woman, that once I'd chosen it, and then all these people coming in, and what was it going to look like, and it was huge, and it wasn't like a paint colour on a wall that if you didn't like it, you could just buy another few litres of paint and paint it. It was. Yeah, it's probably taken, given me years more of my life back with the worry of it. And I did find it stressful making all these choices. And this was very much the showstopper of the whole project. But in the meantime, we're having to make all these decisions. And it was just like you came and took a weight off my shoulders, literally. And now I've got goosebumps. But it's true, you did. It was life-changing, really was. I need a tissue.
You need a tissue.
What's it women do when they're going to cry? They go, I never do that.
Yeah, we have this kind of funny thing, is that buying a kitchen is like finding a spouse. You need to spend enough time in the dating process before you walk down the aisle, because once you walk down the aisle and the kitchen's installed, it's too late to replace, and it's very expensive. Try before you buy it. Is that what you're saying? So we joke around a little bit about that whole kind of process, but it is. You do need to spend enough time making sure that everything is settled internally, with all the little questions that come up before it's actually installed. And that is quite a process sometimes to be able to do that.
Our fourth level of design is all about transcendence, which is the emotionality and the atmosphere that a place carries when someone walks in. I know we've talked to you about that, because we do try to talk about this to all of our clients, and just wondered, what that meant to you, because it means very different things to different people. So what does that mean to you, and how does this space make you feel in particular?
Okay, I find this space very uplifting because of its lightness and its spaciousness. And also, it's reassuring to me. Friends and family are probably are the most important thing in someone's life. Not probably. Friends and family are the most important things in your life. And having this space enables us to be the hub of that. So currently with our children and their partners, and hopefully in the future, grandchildren and wider family and stuff, and with our friends locally and our friends who live further away, we now have the space to have people, not just for an evening, but for them to stay. We never wanted to downsize our house. That's what a lot of people said, why are you making your house bigger when your kids are leaving home? So it gives us that. So it's just life enhancing to be able to do that.
I think it's, I do think, well, I'd certainly hope it is, most people seem to find it a welcoming space. And I think that, there's, you come in and there is plenty of room for people to do, or sit and move around and chat to different people, go and do what they want to do. And so, you can have people around, and it could be that sometimes you have a few guys around to watch rugby, so we can be watching rugby over there, and there's still loads of area
For the girls up here,
you know,
having a glass of fizz.
So I think it's generally, people, I would hope anyway, would feel comfortable. We try and keep it that way, as a relaxed area. We've never, as Penn said, we've never been into sort of formal entertaining, as it were. It's not our style.
Yeah.
I'm not comfortable with that. I don't enjoy that.
Although that is an interesting question, because this is quite a minimalist kitchen. When you compare this to like a shaker kitchen with a country style. So we did have more of that before, and people who have a lot of clutter and stuff like that. And I'm not like that. So I am aware that I don't want it to appear too clinical. We've still got stuff to do with putting some more pictures on the wall and things, and I'm getting some plants to soften it. But that's probably my only concern, was that because we've gone for quite straight edges and clean designs, that it's not too clinical. We want it to be. But I think that we make it friendly because we want people to come, and we provide the food and the drink and the environment. I don't want people to come in and think, I have to take my shoes off.
We always ask that. Anyway, we respect your home. Does it feel clinical to you here, with the tones and the materials?
I find it a very soothing space, because I'm a person who doesn't like clutter. I'm quite a minimalist, so if I like to know where everything is and everything has a place. Ask the boys. If they can't find something, they just say, ask mum. Whereas other people like to live, in a very more muddled space, and they're comfortable with that. So I find it very calming. And in fact, if it gets too messy, that's I love the people here. I love to entertain, but when everyone's gone, we'll try and tidy it all up again, because for me it's a very calming space because of how how uncluttered it is.
When people see a kitchen in a magazine or even on a CAD, it's almost impossible to tell which one's a quality kitchen and which one doesn't have the quality, because the images can be identical. So you've talked about quality, but in what way would you say this thematic kitchen does show its quality?
I think when you actually start to use it, things like the drawer inside the drawer, the soft closing of everything, and the fact that everything lines up very nicely, all the straight edges, everything goes straight through, and it feels solid. That's the thing. You can open other kitchen drawers or doors, and they're either incredibly light or the fronts wobble a little bit or something, and well, I'm sincerely hoping that this is still as it is in 15 years' time.
We are too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is quality. I mean, you can tell. You just need to touch it, as you say. You can't touch it in a magazine, but you know it is. It's beautiful. It's beveled. I mean, it's craftsmanship. The guys who came and did this, actually, they were doing it, and I was watching it. It's just amazing. So, yeah.
I guess it is as you say. People could have the doors of that finish on a lesser quality of carcass or whatever, but when it was all going in, and almost, you know, you see the weight of the units as they're being moved around and installed, and the weight of the worktops and everything. You know that it's solid and it's not backed up by, you know, or not too much MDF or plywood in the back of it anywhere. I just feel, I'll say that everything, the doors and the drawers and everything just all feel like a quality piece of kit.
What do you like about our kitchen? What did you like about designing it in particular? Anything?
Well, I think the important thing for me was the changing the whole space layout around, because I think although your kitchen was originally designed by an architect, and it would have been okay, it wouldn't have been necessarily wrong. I think for you personally, it wasn't. It really, the architect hadn't really considered the way you entertain and the way you live. And he put a kitchen concept in place, which is nothing wrong with the kitchen concept, but it was more generic, and I think we needed something more personal. So by actually putting the kitchen forward into here and linking this whole space together and really getting the flow and connection right, and really thinking about, because you're big entertainers, and you have a lot of people here, really considering how that whole flow went was a really, really important part of bouncing off the architecture to get it right. I think the exploration then of whether we had this design up here or here was a really good exercise to test. Like I said, you know, staying in the process before you push the button on actually implementing the kitchen, making sure you got everything right first. And to do that, sometimes you need to go down some blind alleys to make sure that, you know, that you've gone down it
To make sure it's not right.
To make sure it's not right, because sometimes things pop up there, and if you don't do certain things, they still niggle you. And say, well, would it have been better over there? But once we'd gone through the exercise and we'd explored it, talked it through, you'd seen it, you said, actually, no, it is right here. And sometimes there's this process where we're designing kitchens by what people don't like, rather than what they like, because people know much more instinctively what they don't like. So that's quite an interesting process in the whole kind of scheme of things. So that was good. I think the other thing is you allowed us to be a little bit adventurous and push you a little bit, to take you to a place that you wouldn't have gone on your own. I think without a doubt you wouldn't have done that. And I think this is sometimes the challenge that kitchen design has, is it doesn't really extend you. It doesn't really take you to a place that you still feel comfortable, but there's a little bit of a risk factor in there.
Yes.
And I remember we first came in here and we saw you jumped up and down on the spot because you're so excited about showing us the space, and we're excited to be here. Of course, it was the first time we'd actually seen it when we came 6 months ago, I suppose, wasn't it? And really lovely to see you bouncing off it, actually, and that's probably a literally as well as a metaphor, to enjoy the way the whole space works. So that's very rewarding for us as designers, to be able to go from that very grand design concept of planting some initial thoughts and ideas right the way through this kind of fairly comprehensive, detailed design process to take us through the whole thing. Taken out, and then to see the result, which is a remarkable outcome.
Yeah, you change our dreams into everyday reality.
Yeah,
that's what you did.
Yeah.
And every day we have this.
Yeah. Puts our kitchen at home into
I know, but
Don't go there.
it's like builders, isn't it? Builders' houses
Builders.
never get finished because the
Well, that's
builder's
the
always
finish.
building
It's just
somebody else's house.
You just always want to put the next.
Yes.
It's like a
The thing that I really love about your kitchen, and I wasn't too involved in the designing the space, I came in at a later stage, didn't I? I just counted up here, there are 8 different finishes that I quickly counted, but when you walk into this kitchen, you're not thinking, oh, this kitchen has got 8 different surfaces, how could we ever manage to pull 8 different things in? Because it's so calming, and they're repeated in different places, they harmonise with each other. But the fact that you've got such a huge kitchen and it's contemporary, but you've managed to get 8 different finishes in and still feel calm is why there's a lot of harmony that goes on in this kitchen as well. You know, you've mixed matte surfaces with shiny surfaces. Everything's durable, and everything's just in the right proportion, and that's what I really like about this kitchen. There's a really lovely balance of materials in here, and it just feels peaceful when you walk in it.
Lovely. Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
If you were talking to a potential client on Wise Touch, would you recommend us, and what would you say to them?
Yeah, I've spoken to one. And just put someone through to me to speak about
That's right.
the hobs and venting under the floor, or
Yeah.
there. So now I was very happy to endorse everything that we had done, but particularly that we were very happy with the way that one worked. But no, I don't think we would hesitate to say yes. Go and see them. We think they're very good, but you have to be a bit open-minded. And I think, and for me, that was probably more challenging than it was for Penn on that, in taking on the whole thing of change and changing things round. But we knew we wanted something different and not what the other people had given us. But then, as I say, some of the concepts we looked at and looking at the whole size and everything, it did. On paper it looked huge, but in the room it works really well.
That's why we trust the designer.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. And you in your talk you talked about getting to that level of trust and get there. And when we got there, I know it took us a while, but we got there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a journey.
And my touch on thoroughly professional, sort of from the beginning to the end. So you've got the innovative design, you've got the products to back that up, you've got the advice from the other people like Helena coming in with the interiors and stuff, which helps tie it all together and make it feel like one design. And then a team who smoothly went into action to fit it and to a very high standard. And the odd thing, what do they call it, snagging? They came back and put things right and made sure everything was done properly. So I would absolutely recommend people to come to see you where you are and to get you into their place. Yeah.